It's hurting my reputation right now. It's casting me in a bad light. It seems the Sopranos, they were white Americans, and they're not mafia or anything. Travis was screaming the whole time. He wasn't screaming like a girl. He was like shocked. Like, oh. I ran into the closet. I think I got knocked out, but I don't think it was that long. Such a lawyer.
That's you.
That looks like me.
That is you.
That is not my foot.
I won't believe you.
I'm not the brightest person. I would never stab him. There's a morbid curiosity. How many times was Travis stabbed? I'm all for the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. I want to thank you for being with us. Bombshell tonight. Is the jury siding with JODI Arias? And the prosecution rests. We are live and taking your calls. We are all at the courthouse. Straight to Beth Karras, legal correspondent in session. She's been in the courtroom all day. Well, the state has rested its case. And you know, I don't really take to it too kindly when defense attorneys talk on and on and on about overkill, overkill. Well, you cannot accuse the prosecution in this case of overkill. What's stunning me right now, though, Beth Karras, not so much that the state has rested, but the questions that the jury is asking. Hit me.
Okay, first of all, Nancy, I entirely agree with you that Juan Martinez, the sole prosecutor in this case, did not overtry this case. Nobody can criticize him for that. He put on what he thinks he needed for premeditated murder, 20 witnesses, 9 days. Now, the questions you're talking about from the jury came to Detective Flores, the lead detective, yesterday. 8 questions asking about whether they checked out the roommates and did their alibis check out, did they find the gun and the knife, any knife sets in the house, did they have a knife missing, you know, seemed to be questioning the investigation. Why didn't they do a comparison of fibers from these furry sandals that Travis Alexander had and tassels on the pillows? And some of these questions had already been answered in the evidence earlier.
Okay, I'm really trying to get at those particular questions, Beth. They're very disturbing to seasoned trial veterans like myself and all of the lawyers, including you, Beth, on the panel. Bonnie Drucker, exactly what were the questions the jury asked? Questions about the roommates, Travis Alexander's roommates. Have you checked out their alibis? Were they investigated? Did you ever find the murder weapon? And the translation to that is, how do I know that it was JODI Arias' grandfather's 25? Why couldn't it belong to one of the roommates? A lot of very disturbing questions. Hold on. This is what I don't want to happen. Roll it, Drew.
State of Florida versus Casey Marie Anthony. As to case number 2008 CF 15606-0. As to the charge of first-degree murder, verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty, so say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this 5th day of July, 2011.
The top-month jury renders a verdict of not guilty. The defense team promptly leaves the courthouse and goes to toast champagne in front of a window at a local bar. Let me just say, the devil is dancing tonight. Out to you, Matt Zarrell. I want to go with a fine-tooth comb, you and Bonnie. First with you, Matt. Some of the questions that were asked by this jury.
Okay, Nancy, I'll give you word for word because a lot of the focus is on the roommates. Here's one question. When you interviewed the roommates, was there any concern about Travis's absence? This was a question to Detective Flores, the lead detective. He said...
Oh, right there. When you interviewed the roommates, were they concerned about his absence? Is that correct?
Yes.
And what was the response?
He said no, the roommates believed that Travis was in Mexico already. They didn't know his schedule.
Okay, continue.
The next question was, what about the alibi of the roommates? Detective Flores said one was working, the other was staying with his girlfriend at the girlfriend's parents' home. They also asked, was anyone else living in the house?
Wait. Alibi of the roommates. One working, the other was staying with his girlfriend at her parents' home. Bonnie Drucker, did that cover all the roommates? Was it just Travis and two other roommates?
Yes, that covered all the roommates, Nancy. Some other of the questions are, any knives missing? There were no knives missing. Was a gun found? No gun found. They actually wanted to know if Travis Alexander's old Beamer was checked, and that old Beamer was not checked, Nancy.
Okay, let me go through those again. Were there any knives missing? Flores' response was no, there were no knives missing. I'm going to have to go to the lawyers to get an interpretation on that one. Was the gun used to kill Travis found in Arias' possession? No. I know where this is going. What's after that? Roll it, Drew. What was the next question? Why were the fibers found at the scene not sent out to compare them? Okay, Beth, what are they talking about that? Why were the fibers found at the scene not sent out to compare them?
Well, it was particular fibers. The question said specifically fibers on these little furry sandals, flip-flops, which were in the middle of the master bedroom floor, and fibers from throw pillows, which they had little tassels on them. There were some tassels loose, and it looked like some had blood on them, but the defense was trying to say that he was tying her up with rope, having sex with her earlier in the day, but these are little tiny pieces that are consistent with tassels. Anyway, the answer was not necessary. It sounds like some of these jurors are watching too much CSI, or someone has a law enforcement background, or they're not listening to the evidence because some of these questions had already been answered.
Out to Alexis Tereszczuk, senior reporter, RadarOnline.com. She has been covering the case every single day. Alexis, I'm very concerned about the questions this jury is asking. It sounds as if they're siding with Arias. Didn't they hear in opening statements by the defense that their defense is self-defense? That means that they admit, the defense admits, Jodi Arias killed Travis Alexander. What am I missing?
You're not missing anything, but it sounds like the jury might be missing something. The thing that they're looking for is perhaps another suspect. Jodi has admitted, her defense has admitted, she did it. So these questions are a little ridiculous. One thing that maybe it could possibly be is that there are only a few jurors that think this, so the rest of them got together and said, okay, you think that, fine. We're going to go back to this detective. We're going to ask him, we're going to have him prove again what he said. And that maybe the majority is doing this for just a couple of the minority jurors who are not listening to the evidence at all.
You know, I'm hoping that you are right, and that could very well be. Let me go back to you, Bonnie Drucker. How are the questions asked? Now, when I was practicing law, the jury could ask questions. And I noticed that in some jurisdictions, the jurors will have to write it down, the foreperson, if they've even got one yet, but they will pass it to the bailiff. The bailiff will give it to the judge. The judge, if it's not objectionable, like asking for hearsay or some other objection, will then ask the question. How are they, to explain to the viewers how this is working in the Arias trial?
Yeah, I mean, the jurors are writing it down, giving it to the bailiff is giving it to the judge, and the judge is bringing out the questions. What's really interesting to note, Nancy, is we've been here every single day, and usually there's maybe one question, two questions, but this is like 8 or 9 questions, which is pretty amazing if you think about it.
I mean, when you look at these questions, did you check out the roommate's alibi? I guess Flores nearly did a backflip. We are taking your calls after Sharon in North Carolina. Hi, Sharon. What's your question?
Yes, hey, Nancy. I have a question in that, especially if I was a juror, I would want to know, based on the fact of the friends that have come in of Travis's that have said that he told them he was afraid of Jodi, that he was worried that something might happen to him, that she was stalking him. I would have concerns in the fact that he let her in his house. She was there for 15 some odd hours. They slept, they had sex, they took pictures. Was he afraid of her?
You know, that's an interesting question. Dr. Bethany Marshall, psychoanalyst and author of Deal Breakers. You know, many a true word is spoken in jest, and you've got a lot now. I would say half a dozen of Travis's friends, even father figures to him, stating that it was brought up more than once, maybe in a joking way, maybe in a serious way, that he was actually afraid of JODI Arias, afraid to break up with JODI Arias.
Yeah, Nancy, it's true, but you and I know there are no perfect victims, right? There's a possibility that he was afraid of her, but then he suspended his judgment because she seduced him with sex. You can have poor judgment and be the victim of homicide. And the fact that this keeps being brought up again and again means to me that the public doesn't understand what it means to be a victim. When you are a victim, you lose your ability to have perspective, to protect yourself, to see how malicious another person can be. Victims open their doors to perpetrators. That's what it means to be a victim. So I think that the prosecution should put on an expert who talks about battered wife syndrome, battered boyfriend syndrome, stalking victims, people in our society who are victimized again and again because they have grown up in environments where they did not learn self-protection, and we know that that was true of the victim in this case. He had a very impoverished background.
Bethany, I'm just bowled over, Dr. Bethany, that the jury is now asking, well, did you check out the alibis of the roommates? Hello, in the defense opening, Bethany, they tell the jury, we did it, but we did it in self-defense. So why are they asking this?
They are not listening. They have a certain paradigm in their mind, and the paradigm is that a beautiful woman could not have done this. It must have been the other males in the household, and they are sticking to that dogmatic belief system.
Well, let's just see if they heard something different than we did. Take a listen to JODI Arias herself.
There's no way anyone else could have left your handprint in blood on that lawn. No way. Keep that to your head.
If I was going to ever try to kill somebody, I would